found out I'd been elected this year's great teacher before spring break. I was over the moon then. But now that I get to be the COVID great teacher, I'm extraordinarily humbled to be a part of this weird, memorable graduation. Before the coronavirus, I was planning on talking about a subgenre of epic movies that I love, teacher movies. They're a real thing. You can Google a bunch of lists of them. There are scholarly articles on them. Most are very critical, calling the movies trite or sentimental or unfair to hardworking teachers that don't occasion such a story. Mary Dalton, for instance, calls The Great Teacher, quote, ultimately a tool of social conformity, on the surface representing resistance to the system. Sophie Bell writes, after watching several of these movies, I think I've got the plot. 1. The inexperienced outsider teacher was warned that success with these kids is impossible. 3. The teacher experiences complete failure with traditional methods. 6. The class begins respecting the teacher except for one leader who reserves judgment. 8. The students and teacher face a problem. 9. Together, teacher and students solve this problem. And of course, there are a lot of crappy great teacher movies, as in any genre. But there are also a lot of truly great movies in the subgenre. Coach Carter, Half Nelson, School of Rock, Rushmore, To Sir with Love, Stand and Deliver. These movies have made me sentimental and chastened me about the work I do in ways that I think are good. I think the critics misunderstand how the best of these movies are epics. They parallel the great teacher to the epic hero. But the great Achilles in Homer's Iliad, who wins the Trojan War for the Greeks, or Odysseus, these characters don't parallel the great teacher. For one thing, the epic battles they win are one-offs that turn the war around. The great teacher has to do the whole spiel over and over again. For another thing, there's always an opponent, like the great Trojan warrior Hector, who the hero defeats. But the material over which the great teacher's students are victorious doesn't lose anything by being understood. Lastly, the epic hero is usually a loner. He leads the troops, but he doesn't depend on them for his identity, like a teacher does on her students. The great teacher in these movies is like a different character in the Iliad, not Achilles, but Nestor. Nestor is the old soldier who travels along with the troops telling war stories from back in the day and giving advice. He's also a little bit of a laughingstock. He's great at rallying the troops. His advice is usually good, but not always. The greatest great teacher movies pose the teacher as the Nestor in the student's epic battle. She's a flawed person with valuable knowledge and advice, a little too eager to pass it on. But her excitement about the material rouses the reluctant heroes to their victorious destiny. That's what I want to be.
morning, members of the class of 2020. I hope the sun is shining on you and your families. Wherever you are, across the country or around the world, you deserve a bright day and a great celebration. I wish with all my heart that we could be at Ravinia so I could watch you march across the stage today and receive your diplomas. Because that's not possible, though, I'm somehow going to have to find the patience to wait until October. Who knows? That 5-month delay until homecoming could make your graduation ceremony on October 9th even more sweet. We will surely never forget it, or this entire year. When someone my age is asked to speak to people your age, the basic idea is usually that the older person has some experience to relate and some insights to draw from it. That idea doesn't work very well today, though. You have as much experience in this crisis this spring as your teachers, your parents, and your grandparents. No one has been through this before. The pandemic that is sweeping across the country and keeping us apart is totally new. No one is a step ahead of you this time. So you have a special opportunity as a result. You can decide what lessons our society must learn from this crisis. If there are steps we should take to avoid a future pandemic, for example, then you can identify and implement those steps better than anyone in my generation. In your education at the college, you have learned to think both big and small. You can conceive of a worldwide phenomenon, a virus spanning the globe, and you can also determine the simple, ground-level tactics required to defeat it. Having watched you grow, expand, and achieve so much over the past 4 years, I have total confidence in your abilities, and I'm so eager to see you put them to the test. True, the world feels challenging right now. COVID-19 is still with us, the economy is in turmoil, and our community has to stay apart on a day when we should be applauding your graduation. But there have always been challenges. At your matriculation ceremony back at the beginning, which feels like yesterday to me, I spoke about 3 Lake Forest College alumni who also graduated in times of trouble and who spoke at recent commencements. When Richard Armstrong graduated in 1971, America was stuck in the Vietnam War and his future seemed far from secure. Today, he runs the acclaimed Guggenheim Museum in New York City. When Diana Nyad graduated in 1973, the Watergate controversy was exploding, and she felt like our society was ripping apart. In time, however, that controversy produced major reforms, our nation healed, and Diana developed an award-winning career as a journalist and long-distance swimmer. Finally, right before Kelly Leonard graduated in 1988, the stock market experienced its biggest one-day drop in history, and a deep recession followed. Kelly began work as a dishwasher at Second City, and some years later, he grew to be its artistic director. Richard, Diana, and Kelly, and thousands of other new college graduates rose to meet the challenges of their days, flourished in their careers, and have made the world a better place. I know you will do the same. I'm deeply proud of all of you, and I can't wait to see you next October. Thanks and have a great day.